Let's learn how to measure to the nearest inch. There are two systems of measurement found in our world. There's the customary system and the metric system. So let's break them down. The customary system is only found in three countries in the world: the United States, Myanmar, Liberia. And it involves inches, feet, yards, and miles for length, ounces, cups, pints, quarts, and gallons for volume, and ounces and pounds for weight. Now, the other system in the world is the metric system. We sometimes use this system in the United States, but not very often. All other countries in the world use the metric system, and this includes millimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers, and more to measure length, milliliters and liters usually to measure liquids and others, and grams and kilograms to measure weight. So before we dive into measuring with a ruler, let's first talk about how to use a ruler effectively so you can measure to the nearest inch. So first, you need to know what unit you are measuring. So on your ruler, there usually are both centimeters and inches. You need to make sure that you are on the right side of your ruler. And if we're measuring to the nearest inch, it should be on the inches side. The inches are further apart than the centimeters, and there are 12 inches on a ruler, so the ending number would be a 12, whereas centimeters are smaller, and there are 30 of them on a ruler. So if the end of the ruler says a 30, that means you're on the wrong side. So after you're on the correct side, which is the inches for this, you need to make sure to line up your ruler with the line you are measuring. Then, step 3, you need to make sure the line starts at the 0. So lining up that one end of it with 0 on your ruler. And lastly, you're going to measure to the nearest inch, or if you're doing something else, half inch or quarter inch. All right, we're ready to begin measuring to the nearest inch. Here I have a blue line ready for us to measure right in line with this ruler. So I've already lined it up. I've already matched to the end with 0. So we need to count how many inches long is this line to the nearest inch. So I start at the 0 and I go 1 inch at a time. So it's past 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, and 6 inches. That line ends at the 6. So that is telling us that it is 6 inches long. All right, what about this one? Well, I have the line lined up with the ruler. It starts at 0, so now I'm ready to measure how long is the line to the nearest inch. So let's count how many inches this line is. 1 inch, 2 inches, and it stops. So this is a 2-inch line. Here's our next one. So it is starting at 0 again, always. So now I can count how many inches to the nearest inch this line is. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, and it goes a little bit past the 4, so it is really between the 4 and the 5. But which one is it? Is it the 4 because it's closest to 4, or is it to the 5 because it's past the 4? Wow, in this case, it is the 4 because it is the closest to the 4. So this line, even though it's past the 4, we are measuring to the nearest inch, and it is closest to 4 inches long. Let's look at our next example. How long is this line to the nearest inch? Well, I can see that it's lined up with 0, and I'm going to measure how many complete inches this one is. So 1, 2, and it's almost to 3. But wait a second, it's not touching the 3. So since we're measuring to the nearest inch, we need to look. Oh yeah, it's by the 2, and it almost is to the 3. So then we think, which one is it closest to? And it is closest to the 3. So it is 3 inches long. All right, here's our next example. We're going to count how many complete inches there are. 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. And once again, it's between the 3 and the 4 because it hasn't quite touched the 4. But we're going to go to the closest inch. And if you said 4 inches, you are right. So we need to count our inches to the nearest inch to determine how long this line is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and almost 7. And once again, it's between 6 and 7. So we need to look at which one it's closest to, which is the 7. It would be 7 inches long. Here is our last example. So this one, wow, this is a very short line, but it's still a line and it is almost 1 inch. So once again, we're looking between the 0 and the 1. And since this one is closest to the 1, this line, you guessed it, is 1 inch long. I hope you learned how to measure to the nearest inch. Good luck.